Alright guys, such comic again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. With Octane stepping back into Stallions red and unretiring for a very brief period of time, ZooMaa has some thoughts on how Octane would get on if he was to come straight back into the Pro League. ZooMaa reckons that pretty much he'd be better than half of the players in the league as it stands. A lot of these guys have no idea what they're doing, but is that still true given the performance of some of these weaker teams in recent days in practice has only looked rather promising? Very much intro to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. We're going to start just with a couple of things. Temper, of course, former FaZe Temper, was actually going through a few like logo designs, what he would put together. Of course, well, FaZe Esports is still here. FaZe Clan is gone. He also puts together a well, potential FaZe kind of tricolor outfit and, well, outfit, kind of an outfit, but also jersey design and all this. Not to say that they would or should go down this direction, but like these were kind of the FaZe colors in many respects. Like back in the day when you had those, I mean, those fantastic FaZe jerseys from Black Ops 3, that kind of era. These were the FaZe colors, right? It was a dark blue, it was a red, and then it was maybe a little bit of gold highlighting, bit of white in there sometimes as well. So this is kind of just what he was putting together. I thought it was kind of interesting just because obviously FaZe Vegas has gone a very different direction. They've got the very bright neon pink, which I don't mind actually. But it's not quite FaZe in the traditional sense, and you do wonder whether with FaZe Clan kind of dying and no longer being a thing anymore, certainly with the membership, and as we've discussed over the last few days, maybe FaZe Esports should go back to having a more consistent approach across their different teams. Certainly the case for a team like 100 Thieves. We know they have different jerseys and stuff for the Esports World Cup than what they're allowed for the CDL, but a lot of the organizations will try and not standardize because they want to sell more merch, but within reason have a relatively consistent brand messaging across their teams. That's certainly not the case for FaZe Vegas, so that's caused a few questions. Now, I'm not going to say that they're actually going to deliver this one or whether you guys even like it, but I thought it was pretty interesting to look at. Regardless, speaking of FaZe, we have seen this in recent days, looking at every single rating from certain players. This is what it looks like for Simp. So I think Dashy's overall was an 89 mid or something. I think we saw HyDra's overall was a 90.9. Simp's average is an 89.3. This is how it's looked. So in 2021, he started off as a 99. He was then on absolute fire basically all year. They didn't win Major 2, notably, of course. Toronto beat them in Cold War. That Major, it was only online. Then we went back to LAN at the end of the season. They won everything, as we know. They didn't win Major 5. They did, however, win the World Championship. 2022 was a good year for Simp individually. He was okay. This was aBeZy's down year, notably was in Vanguard. Of course, they made all those grand finals and lost, only an 82 at Champs. It is very interesting, like Simp's record at Champs is quite shocking, actually. Now, I know that he won it in 2019, of course, and his performance there was godlike, right? So, and that's not included here, so worthy to keep that in mind. He won in 2021 as well. But at Champs over the last few years, it is remarkable how bad Simp has been, really. Like, compared to his level at other tournaments. And I'm not saying that Simp's like, oh, he's a choker, he turns up to the big events at Champs and he fails. But, there's more than just a pattern here, right? Like, there's clearly a pattern of his Champs performances not being that strong. And even the World Cup the last couple of years has not been... Now, I know a line man rating is a line man rating, right? But given Simp's play style, there's clearly a discrepancy here between regular season Simp and Champs Simp. That has been the case over the last few years. In 2023, he had a difficult time at Champs. 2024 was okay, but I mean, look, in 2024, he was a 99, 99, 98, 99 in Modern Warfare 3. And then he was an 84 and 88 at Champs in the World Cup. So, and then of course, Champs this year, last year actually, last season, 58, was like, that was the Burger King card, right? That was the Simp Burger King. That was, well, what did we put him in an in and out outfit? I think we did. So, obviously overall season numbers still very strong. But it's something to think about anyway for Simp going forwards, because there has been a bit more inconsistency here than you would see from some of the other top players. The other talk, though, of course, has been about challenges, and let's discuss what it could mean for some of the players that have stepped back in over there. Look, could we be getting expansion at some point? Again, it depends on how the CDL want to run things. We understand that the Bush guys the other day came out and said that we were expecting the CDL to pay us for the spots, right? Which I think is pretty damn optimistic. But maybe the league will at some point change their approach in terms of how they're going to deal with these teams. It's no longer, oh, pay us $25 million. Maybe there's more of a Valorant-style partnership thing where you give a team a spot and in exchange they have to do all this marketing and all the other things. That's a possibility. But I would imagine that there will still be some sort of ongoing fee to the league to actually be part of it. Some organizations might have the ability to do that. Certainly the Saudi orgs, Envy, SSG, there was talk about TSM a little while ago, maybe some others as well. For the actual challengers teams, the Bush guys, the Stallions, Omit, pretty unlikely. I think my better first step would be, let's just have every tournament is a Pro-Am. I think that would be cool. Kind of how it used to be back in the day. We're getting in at Major 3 this year. I think it should probably be the case every event, to be honest. That would be a nice step, but we'll see. We've talked for years about expansion, literally for years. Like the very first year of the league, the discussion was, damn, only 12 teams? We used to have 16. Can we get maybe just 16 again? And every year, Cold War, Vanguard, Modern Warfare 2, we used to talk a lot about expansion. But over the last couple of seasons, everyone's kind of given up on it to a degree, because if it's not happened now, maybe it never will. But look, we're, 7 years into this Call of Duty League at this point? Blimey. Maybe when we get to 10, we'll have a chance. If we even get to 10, that's another fair question. Now, I will share this clip, because Havoc was not especially happy with the plays of Sruti. Things all, this is the entertainment, isn't it? They're playing as the Stallions Reds, and this was pre-Lqgend's departure that we talked about earlier on today, but Havoc was, having a debate, let's say. Interesting, of course, you got a guy of Havoc's experience. What can he bring to the table? Obviously quite a lot. And the same is true for Octane. So if you guys didn't see earlier today, we talked about Lqgend stepping away from the Stallions Red, going back to France to spend a little bit of time with family. That's put their team in a tricky spot. They've got to find a player for the elite, and they had a scrim with Octane. Now, Octane was not the long-term solution. Look, if he ever did want to come back, Octane, I'm actually not surprised, but Methods has made it quite clear that he misses competing. And I think this is, I think as a competitor, you're always going to see players walking up on the main stage competing for the championship and think, damn, that used to be me, right? It'd be cool to get back there. Zinni's been pretty public about the fact that he's missed that in a way, but Method's retirement came at an opportune time for him because, as we know, he stepped away. The future is green. He joined OpTic. He sat next to Scump on the watch party. And it's all worked out, I'm sure, very well. The Methods has been pretty clear that I do kind of miss it, right, when I see the guys up there. The same clearly is true for a guy like Formal, right? Formal, you can't keep him away. It seems something competitive. Of course, this season, he's done a great job streaming, but will that last forever? I don't know. That's what a lot of these guys are like. Octane, however, had a very interesting end to his career because he was, won the World Championship in Vanguard to get his first ring, first and only, but, became a world champion after being considered one of the best players to never win it for many years. Modern Warfare 2, they won a tournament that year, which was the first ever time a team that had won champs went on to win another tournament with the same roster the following season. And then he retired at the end of the year. Kind of out of nowhere, really. Yeah, they bombed out at the end of the season, but Octane decided that he didn't want to scrim all day, wanted to move to a new location, spend time with his now wife, and, very sensible decision, I think, but it was a surprise to the community because arguably Octane was only getting better. Now, he stepped away from competing for a couple of years. If he was to get back in, as I think ZooMaa said, you're not expecting to hop back into the server and immediately be godlike level player again. It's going to take you at least a few weeks, if not more, to level up to where you were. But I think there's no doubt that Octane, in the same way that if Scump was to come back, or even if Karma were to come back, these are players of a quality. Octane is top 4, top 5 absolute bare minimum AR of all time. I think arguably top 3. It's Clay and Formal, and then it's somebody else. Probably you're going to say Dashy now because he's got the 2 rings, which I think is probably fair. But Octane and Slasher maybe are fighting for that 4th best AR of all time. And in terms of a well-rounded player, Octane was kind of unstoppable towards the end of his career. So how good would he be, right? Like if he came back in, ZooMaa says that there's some people in the league that have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
You're so vetty.
Yeah, for real.
Hey, how did you die, Swoop?
I flew out of dojo window. I thought we were.
Bro, I mean, come on, bro. Like, I'm saying 3B. That doesn't mean fly out dojo window as our AR. Like, come on, bro.
One, I think
what?
we get there first for one, but two.
Bro.
I guess I misinterpreted you guys saying like go B. Like
We gotta work it though. We gotta work it. You can't just fly out dojo. Like, come on, bro. Like, what?
Bro, I thought the numbers wise, like, there's no way he could just get on the heady and just kill me, and then that's it. Like, I thought we were challenging.
Well, you gotta understand who you're with.
First
It's
week.
me, Sabri, and you. It's 2 subs and an AR. Like, we didn't say all square the fucking heady.
I got you, Cole.
We can do that shit, but like, man, it's just getting so frustrating because I feel like we're just like not using our brains.
My bad, Cole.
Bro, don't be petty and say Colt, bro. Like,
How's that? Havoc? My bad, Havoc? Like,
bro, alright.
I was just saying your
special.
name.
Alright, lock in. Make a play call,
I
Swoop. Make a play call, right?
Similar rule, Octane can 100 million% compete in today's CDL. He could probably be on like a top 8 team. No bullshit. He probably could. I'm not joking. Hey, I mean, bro, I'm just being honest. There are literally people in the CDL that have no idea what's going on. It's horrible. Their comms are horrible. They have no idea what's going on. Horrible. Some of these teams are just horrible.
So could Octane come back in and be on a top 8 team in the CDL? Obviously, he wouldn't want to, presumably, unless the Falcons were to make the bag right or whatever. And I don't see a spot opening there for Octane on Falcons anytime soon. Of course, he's also on Thieves, right, as a creator, but he's not going to step back into that org or that starting roster, you'd imagine, soon enough. These are the CDL teams. Now, what I was mentioning at the start of the video was actually on this Ravens team, because you might look at this Ravens team and probably fairly and say, damn, they look pretty terrible. They were pretty terrible in the first week or so of the CDL. Last year, they started out as Ravens really well with Slasher, very different team as we know, Vivid, Gwinn, TJ, and all that. This year, very different roster. Nero, Lqgend, Craze, but Nero, typically pretty good early game player. Craze has been relatively impressive, I think, and Lurk's a little bit more of an unknown. Slasher, we know what he's going to do. Now, what I was mentioning on this team was because they've actually been scrimming quite a lot over the last few days, and their scrim results have been very solid. We've seen quite a bit of it, and they were playing T-Bush, and they were absolutely slamming T-Bush to the point where T-Bush chalked it off. So, yeah, definitely not ideal for Bush Gaming, but because, I don't know, are they back on our graders again or something? They seem to flip-flop between being good and being not. Now, again, this is scrims, so take it as you will. But yeah, I mean, I'll just go through some of the screenshots here. They got nearly 100 point clubs on the Scar. They did get 100 point clubs on the Exposure. They got 6-0 slammed on the Den Overload, and then they basically just called it a day. So yeah, here we go, Upgraders is back. So anyway, maybe that's just a sign of Bush just having a bad day. I know that Donny Temper said a few times, like, their scrims, their practice is not really great. They don't have the focus that some of the other teams have. So maybe there's a bit of that, but also in scrims over the last few days, Ravens have looked better. So maybe they're not as bad as they used to be. But could Octane be on a team that's better than at least 4, 5, maybe 6 of these teams? Of course, in theory, the weaker teams in the league are Boston. I think they're pretty good, but I wouldn't say they're top 6. Ravens, Cloud9, then G2, who have maybe been slightly more underwhelming than I was expecting. Obviously, even Thieves. Here is Octane, right? Sitting on this Thieves lineup because he's part of the organization to an extent. You know, could he step in and do a job for Thieves if necessary? I don't really see where that would make sense. Subtane has never really been particularly successful. Obviously, Miami are kind of like an outlier in the league with the Spanish thing. OpTic, Paris, obviously then Falcons. And then Surge, you still need a player, but we know that it's going to be TJ coming in there. So where would Octane go, right? In the hypothetical that Octane were to come back in, it's difficult to imagine where he would really step into, right? I mean, maybe you look at a team like G2 and think he could do a good job with that team. And I think he could. And he could probably, you know, could he make that team better with a few months of practice? Possibly. But also possibly not, and why would he want to? So anyway, I just thought it was pretty interesting because we often talk about how Scump or others would do if they were to come back in. And we got a little glimpse of it over the last day or so with Octane stepping into the Stallions. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.